Last season, we had 5 races. One champion, who was Daniel Sedgley. He will return once again to the Platinum Racing League MX5 series in Season 2. Together with him, Will Joel Sylvester, who finished 3rd last season. Who will not be here though will be our runner-up last season, Stephen Bird. But once again, the schedule is the same. 5 races. And once again, I will be bringing the live action to you together with Jake Smedley. Jake, welcome.
Hi Dan, thanks for having me. Hello everyone.
Jake, last season the championship went down to the last race of the last evening. And what do we expect for Season 2 here with changed regulations for these MX5 cars? The cars are looser on the rear. What can we expect?
Well, I mean, definitely there probably was going to be a few more mistakes considering after the new update that the cars are a bit more loose. So it's going to be a bit easier to spin. But yeah, I'm hoping it's a bit like last season where we had the championship basically go down to the wire.
Yeah, and of course, last season we had Daniel Sedgley becoming champion. Together in the top 3 with him was John Sylvester, but Stephen Bird not returning. The man who finished P2 in last year's championship. Of course, once again, we have a big field. We have 8 returning drivers and 7 new drivers that we know of. Well, can we really look at the results from last season and say these are going to be the guys who are probably going to perform well, or is it just irrelevant now with the changes that have happened to the regulations of these cars?
Well, no, it's not irrelevant. I mean, the championship standings of last season will give us a good idea of who's going to be nearer the top, not necessarily on top, but it's going to be give us an idea of who actually understands these cars a lot more than say some of the other drivers. So it's all about, yeah, the new regulations have come in, but we got to see from last season who was at the top of the league. So I don't think it's fully irrelevant. I think it could still give some idea about who's going to be near the top.
Okay. Talking about last season, though, let's take a look at the drivers that have returned. You saw him on your screen just a few seconds ago, and we see him again. Daniel Sedgley. He will return once again. Our man who was champion last season. He will try and retain that championship. Together with him from last season will also be Christian Novak. He was there last season as well, together with Tom Vos. He only did 1 race last season, Tom Vos. And, well, let's say he won both of them. Jake.
Yeah, that was a race to remember. That was the first round, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But I think after that round, Tom Vos did not compete anymore, which was weird because he's definitely someone to look for, and you can say, well, that is a quick guy. As is John Sylvester. He finished last season in 3rd. So also a man I think to look at in the top 5 once again here in practice. Aaron Hobson returns to the PRL MX5 series once again. He finished in 11th last season. At the beginning of the season we were expecting him to be up there in the top 5 really, but just couldn't really string it together. A lot of unlucky moments, and of course with the championship that is only 5 races long, or 5 evenings and 10 races long, of course you do not have a lot of time really to work on that championship. So if you have 2 bad evenings, you're really out of the championship already. That's the thing with a short championship. So you have to be in your A game every evening. Together with him, returning as well, is Miles Owens. He was there last season as well, and he finished 8th in the championship. And, well, let's say that he finished 8th in the championship last season, is in P8 once again in the practice. Is he going to stay where he is, or do you think he's going to improve?
I think he's going to improve. Definitely after last season's result, I reckon he can maybe get into the top 5 potentially. Maybe he could be looking to get to the top 5.
Yeah. Well, together with him as well, and our last returning man that we have on the grid this evening is Martin Hobson. This man finished in P6 last season. I had to look really quickly because I didn't remember, but he finished in P6 last season. And I think I forgot someone, Ivan Bremer. Did I mention him? He's returning as well, but he's only returning for this first race, as is Marnix Heister, who is in the pits right now. We do have some new people in as well. One of those is the man on top of the standings at the moment, Darwin Romero. He is new this season, together with all 6 of his newcomers in the league. Being first in the practice, it has shown to us, because Tom Vos did that as well, that you are someone to really look out for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tom Voss had a great race night. That the time that he dominated every single session, pretty much. So yeah, it is practice. You shouldn't always go off practice times, because sometimes like miracles happen. Like some of the, I would normally say teams, but some of the top drivers are not pushing as much, saving the tires and fuel, whatever. But yeah, some of them will be doing race runs, some quali runs. So practice times isn't really one that you go off, but yeah, it does definitely give us an idea of who's going to be near the top.
Yeah, together with him being a newcomer as well this season, and we'll go by order that they are in the standings right now, is Michael Osborne, a man from the UK. He's new as well in this championship. P9 at the moment in the practice, of course, still improving. Everyone just learning the track as they go. But yeah, a lot of new people, and I think really, really excited. Together with him is Mario Grillo as well from Spain, and Alexander Longo. I hope I said that correctly. If I didn't, let us know. But he is from France. French driver here. I think I can't remember, but if I remember correctly, I do not think that we had a French driver in the championship last season.
No, I don't think we did. That's quite a cool looking livery. He's running student driver.
Yeah. Well, together with him, new in the series, we have 2 new drivers to go by. It's Chris Simmons. He is new as well, the man, which I judged by his name is probably from the UK, because Chris is quite a British name, isn't it, Jake? You coming from the UK, Chris is quite a British name, isn't it?
Yeah, Chris is very common over here.
Especially the way it's spelled. If it would have been Dutch, it would have probably been with a K. So K-R-I-S, maybe double S in the end, but yeah, he's either from the UK or he's Irish. So that's the 2 options we have, and I think he's Irish. He isn't Irish, and he is from the UK. Jose Manuel Padin. This man is also new in the series as well. We'll stick on board with him for a second, because he is currently posting purple sectors. So he could go up to the top or challenge with Darwin Romero here. Not that it is anything to go by, but taking top in practice is definitely, it boosts your confidence, and he does. He does go up to pole position at the moment, or to P1 in the practice session, with almost 1.5 tenths over Jose Manuel Padin. So yeah, a driver to look out for as well, a newcomer.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, practice is it establishes it's the first time these guys have been out on the track in these cars in the setup, so most of them will just be getting used to the track and stuff like that. But I know I used to use practice sessions to mainly just get used to the track and see where I was in terms of the drivers. So I think he'll definitely be happy with where he is at the moment.
Yeah, of course we saw last season Tom Vos starting with a P1 in the practice session. He signed up 5 minutes before the actual qualifying session went on, or before he needed to be in the session. Got into the session, immediately learned the track. Of course, the track we were on back then is a track that is well known in the community. Tsukuba, I think it was. So a well-known track in the community as we come to the end of practice and go to the start of qualifying. But if we remember that, and I will always remember that because it was a special thing. He signed up 5 minutes before, came into the session, took P1 in the practice session, took pole position, and won both races. So literally a grand slam with 5 minutes of notice. If that is going to be the same for Jose Manuel Padin, that is going to be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, but I don't think he signed up 5 minutes before this.
I don't think he did. It could have well been the case, but I don't think he did.
Oh, having a Grand Slam at the start of the season always boosts your confidence going for the rest of the races that are left, because it is a very short championship that we have only 5 races. So if you have a Grand Slam, I keep messing up on that word, Grand Slam at the start of the season, it definitely builds your confidence up.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the heat of qualifying, let's go over the schedule we have this evening. We're currently in the qualifying. We had 45 minutes of practice, 50 minutes of qualifying, which we are in now. Then we have a 15-minute race 1, and then a 30-minute race 2, where we have to make a pit stop. So pit stop strategies coming into play as well in the last race. Race 1 is more of a sprint race, Jake, and then race 2 is more of a short enduro race with the pit stop included.
Yeah, Heat 1, you tend to see more drivers just full on going for it, which is, don't get me wrong, but it's probably where most of the drivers will have their crashes is in the Heat 1, because they use it as more of a position gainer and see where they all are and stuff like that. So, especially for some of the newcomers, it'll probably be them getting used to the race how it goes. So Heat 1 will probably be where we'll see the most accidents, and then it'll calm down in race 2.
I think we saw that last season.
Yeah.
Race 1 was pretty chaotic, but then race 2 was, I think, one of the best races we've had of the season so far. So, yeah, definitely want to look out for race 1. Very, very special, I think. But also something to announce, last season we only had one class. After this race 1, we will have a Pro and Am class. Of course, you need time to evaluate the drivers. You need time to see what every driver is capable of. To actually put them into classes. Of course, you could do it by our rating, but there are people that are quicker than others. So they've chosen to do it in a way that they evaluate the drivers at the end of this race and then put them into classes. So next race we will have a Pro and Am class, and yeah, looking forward to that, because we will have 2 championships to look at and 2 races in one race to look at.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just having that second class just adds so much excitement to the race.
And I think as well, this track, it just makes for good racing. The slipstream is very powerful here, as we see at the moment. Vincent Awesams and Miles Owens with both purple sectors. Let me quickly take a look at what is exactly the problem there. I do think I already found the fault or the issue there, so we'll fix that now, and there we go. They should now both be in the same class, so no 2 purple sectors there. And Vincent Awesams is now also on a green sector, because it will probably be this man we're looking at right now, Jose Padin, who will probably be going purple.
Yeah, I mean, going back to your slipstream thing, Dan, these cars tend to, you got to keep the slipstream. We saw it last season. A lot of cars were keeping the slipstream, especially in the longer races, just to try build up position. Because once you're out of that slipstream, you're fighting the car's fighting the air by itself. So having that slipstream just creates so much more benefit to the car behind. And yeah, I think these cars are very slipstream. Like, they rely on slipstream quite a lot to build up the speed. So I think it's carrying over from last season. But this track is quite full of slipstream and quite wide and long straights. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's a track that's almost, you say, made for MX5 racing, made to be, or made to make MX5 racing exciting, because these cars, you do not really have dirty air. As you see now, Miles Owens coming to the end of his lap to put down a marker for the rest. Vincent Awesams behind that as well. Don't know how he has gone yellow in Sector 2. Does that mean that he's gone slower in Sector 2 than he did in his outlap? Miles Owens across the line puts in a 2 minute 10.1, which does mean that you don't really get a lot of laps here Darwin Romero, though, jumps up to pole position with a 2-minute .08.948, but a little bit further back. And if we take a look, we do have Jose Manuel Padin. His lap did not count there the first time round, so he will need another lap. And the laps being 2 minutes and 8 seconds long, or 2 minutes and 10 seconds, if you are a little bit slower, you do not really have a lot of attempts.
No, you don't. You have probably about 7.5 attempts of laps anyway, and that's just as you start in one. So you do have 15-minute qualifying, but you got to take into account that each lap you're doing about 2 minutes 8, 2 minutes 10. So it does all add up, and you probably don't have that. You don't.
Yeah. Last season in qualifying, we saw, of course, that usually the top 10, the top 12, 13. Oh, who is that with a big accident on the track there? That will not help his lap time. But we saw that the top 10, top 12, sometimes top 14 was within a second. Are we going to see that this season again? As it seems like we've lost Jake, our co-commentator. But yeah, last season we had the top 10, top 12, top 14 sometimes within a second. And it would be awesome to see that happening this season once again. And yeah, let's see what they can do. It's something to look forward to, but at the moment we do have Jose Manuel Padin not improving at all. Don Romero at the moment in pole position, he is improving. Not going purple, oh, but that will probably be an off track for him, so that will ruin his lap time. That will allow for Christian Novak, I think, to go through. No, that was not Christian Novak, of course, that was, let me quickly take a look, that was Daniel Sedgley. Here we have him, Daniel Sedgley across the line. Not an improvement for him. Darwin Romero also not an improvement for him. We did see him go wide. Aaron Hobson in P4, but I do think that my co-commentator is back.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Well, I said we did see that last season the top 10, top 12 or top 14 sometimes. We saw them within a second. Do you think we're going to see that this season once again?
It might take, considering that the cars have got more loose, it might take a bit of time for them to get into the gap. I mean, it's already 3 seconds. It's already 2 seconds to P1 from P10. So we hopefully see it die down to about a second towards the end of the season. But yeah, it's probably going to take a race or two just to get all the drivers to get settled into these Mazdas.
Yeah, for the people who don't know, the Mazda's got a big regulation change in iRacing, which means that the cars are now really, really different to drive. So you need to, as we see here, you need to really have a big slide angle. You need to really, really drive on the edge. But driving on the edge is so much more tricky now than it was before. You could really lean on the car before. You can do that now still, but it's way easier to spin the car on acceleration and everything. So the cars have become a little bit quicker, but it also means that the cars have become a little bit more tricky to drive, which also means, of course, that there will be more mistakes happening. And I think towards the end of the season, like Jake said, it's gonna ease off a little bit with the mistakes, and the drivers will get to know the car a little bit better. But it is gonna be difficult though to get to terms with the car this early on in the season. And I think being on a long track like this, or at least for a Mazda, a track that takes this long, does not really help, because you're not going to get a lot of laps in qualifying. So every lap really has to count. There's a little bit of traffic for Aaron Hobson on his faster lap. Not improving at all at the moment, but it seems like it was Darwin Romero in the number 15, which was the traffic on the exit of turn 11. So, yeah, it's we're up for a season, I think, with some mistakes, some huge mistakes on some high-stake moments, and I think that putting someone under pressure will be more effective than last season.
Definitely. Considering that these cars now are a bit tricky to drive, if you're right up behind someone, they might lose control, because that's what you do. You want to put as much pressure on the opponent as possible, because then they don't drive as well as they normally do. So you want to put some pressure on the car in front, just to force him into that mistake, and then you get the position from it.
Yeah, it's and that's exactly what I thought as well. It's way easier now to put someone under pressure and and try and let him make a mistake. Martin Hobson goes up into P12. We now see the gap open up a little bit further. Here he is. Martin Hobson came across the line. No one really improving at the moment. MX5 was improving last lap. He has jumped up to P10 with a 1 minute, or with a 2 minute 10.74. But yeah, it does look like that Darwin Romero, Daniel Sedgley, they're in a league of their own, really. And Daniel Sedgley, our champion from last season, is really quite a lot off, because 310s in these cars is a lot. And 710s to P3, it looks like Darwin Romero is really, really quick.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's already got the gap. We saw it in practice. He was quite quick. But yeah, I mean, it looks like Darwin Romero and Daniel and Sedgley will be one that are going to be fighting it out at the top.
Yeah, Tom Vos in P9 at the moment, so he's not performing any wonders like he did last season. So yeah, it looks like Tom Vos has settled down a little bit. I don't know if it was just the track, but he's now in some traffic as well, in the form of the number 11 of Christian Novak. For the people who don't know, the red numbers mean that that is an MX5 car, and of course the numbers inside of the red squares or rectangle in some cases is the driver number, so the car, the number that is shown on the car as well, in order to identify a driver for the stewards and for us commentators and you as viewers as well. So it's just to help everyone with identifying their favorite driver. Tom Vos, after that lap in P8 with a 2 minute 10.24, and that is only 4 thousandths of what Jose Padin did. So already looking rather close here. Daniel Sedgley at the moment improving on his last lap, but did not jump up. A man who did jump up is John Sylvester. He came across the line, improved to a 2 minute 09.95 last lap. So some improvements across the board, but a lot of people, let's say the gap is bigger than we expected.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I expected it to be maybe in the 1 seconds like we had last season, but it's already up to 1.4. So I reckon it, like I said earlier, it's probably going to take them a few races just to get used to the car.
Well, if you take a look at the gap from P4 to P12, that's 8 tenths. So, that is a big moment for the number 55, John Sylvester. That is not going to help his lap time, and he's going to have to start a new one. But if you look at the gap from P4 to P10 or P12, that's only 8 tenths. So could it be that just Darwin and Daniel are so quick?
Maybe. I mean, if they know the car well, then they'll probably be be quicker than everyone else. But yeah, it's already coming down though. I mean, in practice it was 2 seconds, the gap from P1 to P10, so it is definitely getting closer. So it might just be after Heat 1, Dan, that they are maybe under a second.
Yeah, Tom Vos across the line. He goes to P4, but a little bit further back, it was Christian Novak with a really, really good lap. But it seems like that lap did not count, or he was not faster. Could that be the case? Yes, that is the case. His lap did not count. He had a purple middle sector in there. And with qualifying coming to a close, I think that is his lap done. Darwin Romero also not improving. And Tom Vos, in the dying stage of qualifying, has jumped up to P4. So good job by him. The gap from P1 to P7 now is 7 tenths. The gap from P3 to P11 is only 8 tenths. So the gap from P3 to P11, like I said, only 8 tenths. So it looks like just Darwin and Daniel are at the moment in a league of their own with these new regulations.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen it over the years in motorsport. Like, if there's new regulations that come in to change the cars, some drivers just really adapt very well to the car. and some drivers don't. So it kind of shuffles the field up a bit. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the first race coming up soon.
Oh, that was not good for Tom Voss. He was on an improvement. 3 green sectors on the board there, but he did not improve. Don't write that man out yet. We do have a grid for you. Here we go, Jake.
Darwin Romero starts P1, followed by Daniel Sedgley, our last season's champion. Joe's Padin starts P3. Tom Voss follows him in P4, and Christian Novak completes the top 5. P6 goes to John Sylvester, 7 Aaron Hobson, 8th Miles Owen, 9th Vincent Ossams, and completing our top 10 is Chris Simmons. 11th MX5, 12th Mario Grillo, 13th Martin Hobson, and 14th Michael Osborne. 15th goes to Alexandra Longue, 16th Ian Bremer, and last is Stephen Bird in 17th. An interesting grid there, Dan.
Yeah, Stephen Bird in the session now. Something I did not expect, to be honest. But yeah, he is in the session right now. And he's going to be looking to, because that was our man who finished P2 in the championship last season. So he's going to be looking to do that once again, or maybe go one better. But we take a look at our pole sitter then. Darwin Romero, what can he do from pole position? Gridding is done. The 5 red lights are going to be on your screen in a second time. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. They're out, and we are underway for race 1 of seasons 2 of the PRL MX5 series, and it is Darwin Romero with a very good start. Will it be Daniel Sedgley who can attack him into turn 1? It's going to be around the outside. Yeah, he will have the better run. Daniel Sedgley, last season champion. Will he prove why he was last season champion? Yes, he will. Immediately past Darwin Romero. Jose Padin after that. He keeps P3. P4 is Tom Voss. He will be now in the slipstream of Jose Manuel Padin. And he will be looking to overtake. Don't write this man out. He was really quick, was improving in qualifying, could not finish his lap. But it looks like we're all through to the straight cleanly.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a very, very interesting start. And Daniel Sedgley nearly having Darwin Romero there. At the start into turn 1.
Oh, it goes wide.
Oh.
It's Daniel Sedgley who's gone wide. He lost the lead to Darwin Romero on the straight because of the slipstream. And he's gone wide immediately. He will now have to slow down to serve. So this is not the start Daniel Sedgley was hoping for. Immediately down back to P10. And he will now have to work his way through the field. Vincent Ossams is side by side together with Aaron Hobson, the 578. He has to slot back in behind that. And a little bit further back is Miles Owen side by side together with Marnus Heister. Marnus Heister to the outside now for the right-hander. Can Miles Owens keep the inside? No, he will lose a position to the number 10 and number 14 just ahead of him, and he will drop back. Darwin Romero though still in P10, but look who is in P2. The man who won last season's first race is Tom Voss back to P2, but he is pressurized by Jose Manuel Padin behind him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's definitely not what Daniel Sedgley would have wanted, our last season's champion. But Tom Voss having a great race up into P2 now, challenging Darwin Romero, and he's got Joe's Padin behind him in 3rd place. So it's all slipstream like we were talking about earlier, Dan. All the cars are just in the slipstream, and it's very, very important that they stay there. Otherwise, you know, they're going to be a bit slower. But here we go, Tom Voss gaining them 2 positions. But yeah, I think Tom Voss may be looking to get another first opening race win again.
He did it last season, and he could be on for another one once again, but he has to deal with Jose Padin behind him. Of course, that slipstream keeping him close to Darwin Romero. A little bit further back, though, it's also a fight for P11 and P12. It's Michael Osborne being passed by Mario Grillo, but can he come back on the exit? He will have the better speed. He will have the inside going into the S's. Can they keep it side by side through that? Always a spectacle to see cars going side by side. A little bit further up the road, it's Marty Sykes together with Daniel Sedgley also side by side. If we keep a look at this battle, then it's Mario Grillo in the number 14 on the outside for the inner loop, going side by side into the inner loop. It's always tricky to do, and it will be Michael Osborne who will slot in behind once again.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. There's always great battles on the opening few laps of the Mazda MX-5s, and Daniel Sedgley is that going very wide. Has he got something wrong, or I just
Daniel
saw him
Sedgley
going
down
very
to
wide.
P14. Yeah, there he is. Daniel Sedgley down to P14. Here we can take a look again. Oh, there's a big
spin.
crash. There's a spin in front. Who is that? A big crash. Let's look who's involved in that. It seems to be Alexander Longuet, Chris Simmons, and MX5 has returned to the pit lane. Not a season start that he would have hoped for, but Michael Osborne, though, I think was involved in that as well, together with Alexander Longuet. Stephen Bird, though, did not qualify. Doesn't know this track in this car, but already up 5 positions. Martin Hobson, though, trying to attack Stephen. No, this is Miles Owens trying to attack, I think, Daniel Sedgley in the number 77. And can he do something about that? It looks like Daniel Sedgley had a poor start, but now back out to P9 because he crashed in front of him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we don't know what's going on there, but that was unlucky for the 3 involved there. Marnix Heister, not the season start he would have wanted. I know he didn't have the greatest season last season, but that's definitely not what a season start that he would be wanting. And there goes, is that Christian Novak going down the inside of Darwin Romero as Tom Voss is in the lead now, but can't quite get the move done, Dan.
Can't quite get the move done. Darwin Romero was paused by Tom Voss on the last lap. But now look at that slipstream. Down the straight we go once again. We will take a look at how that move was done by Tom Voss in a second. But we have a long straight to cover now. Tom Voss in the lead. He will pin Darwin Romero to the outside on the inner loop. He will have to do it around the outside if he wants that place from Tom Voss. He will not yield. We're almost going to be 3 wide into the inner loop. And it is now also Christian Novak coming through. Tom Voss braking very late. That will compromise his exit here out of the inner loop. But he will have the outer loop, of course, to deal with, which is a corner. So he doesn't get compromised that much. But it's a great fight for the lead. And it's Darwin Romero once again up into the lead. Back past Tom Voss.
Definitely. I mean, I hope this continues all season long. These two have been battling it out non-stop since we went lights out. So it's going to be very, very interesting. As we can see there, 7 cars in the slipstream. These Mazda MX-5s are literally all slipstream. They are quite quick, but they are also mainly one car behind another. But Darwin Romero, can he keep it in front of Tom Voss? We know Tom Voss is quite quick in these Mazdas, but he only did 1 race last season. But you know, he's going to be quite quick, so he's got the slipstream on him. Can he get ahead of him in the next lap or two?
That's the question. But Tom Voss looks to be very quick once again. He lost the lead this lap, but trust me, he will try and regain that on the next straight, just like Darwin Romero did. It's slipstream that is really keeping these cars this close together. If you lose the toe, you're pretty much out of the fight for the lead, is what usually happens in these MX-5. But Darwin Romero just looks to have a little bit more pace than Tom Voss, and I think it's going to be back and forward. But onto the main straight now to complete another lap. 6.5 minutes done already. Tom Voss once again within 3/10, closing. And through the S's, of course, it is pedal to the metal there. So closing up there as well. Through turn 1, it looks like on the entry, Tom Voss really quick. But it looks like Darwin Romero has focused on that exit a little bit more than Tom Voss. Tom Voss will begin to gain now. But will he have a chance to overtake him into the inner loop once again?
Well, it could potentially, Danny. Is quite close. The gap is just over 2.5 tenths. So he could potentially, he is gaining on him quite a lot. He's got the slipstream down the straight. Is he going to look for a move? He goes round the outside. Can he get it done into the inner loop? As we go now round, he's got him. Darwin, I believe, is just staying ahead, but Tom Voss is very, very close just behind him.
He tried it around the outside. He should have the inside for the second part of the inner loop, but it did not work. Darwin Romero, though, doing a beautiful job, doing a terrific job of keeping Tom Voss behind him for another lap. But Tom Voss definitely looking greedy to take that position away from him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these two have been battling it out so long, and there's all these cars behind them that want the position that they're in, but they are just focusing on getting to P1. They are focusing on their own battle, which is good, because you don't want to be focusing on the guys behind you unless they're going to overtake you, as there is a 2 wide for 2 rows here, Dan. We got 4 cars, and 2 of them are behind, 2 of them in front. And that's a little push there from Martin Hobson as they go around the outside on the straight. Who are they overtaking there? Daniel Sedgley. No, Daniel Sedgley's not involved in that. Mario Grillo. And he goes wide there, does Martin Hobson in the number 88. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be quite an interesting season for the rest of it.
Yeah, look at that for a fight then. This is the fight for P9, P10, 11 and P12. Miles Owens involved in that as well. But look who's in that as well, without any practice. Stephen Bird up into P10, only 9 seconds behind Darwin Romero at the front. He is doing a terrific job without any practice to keep that car at least in contention for anything.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to be probably practicing as he goes along, winging it as they call it. He's just going to wing it and try go for it. And he's actually going for a move now onto Mario Grillo down the inside of turn 1. Can he get the move done? He's got the inside line on the number 14. He is just ahead, I believe, now, going up turn 2 and following turn 3, the left-hander. He's got Daniel Sedgley just in front of him there, as we just saw goes past. As there's 3 of them, and I believe that is Martin Hobson getting involved there, going around the outside of the number 14. So this is definitely very close battle going on here. And there's a push actually going on there. Some NASCAR techniques going on here at Watkins Glen tonight.
It is bum drafting, and bum drafting. And it does work this time round, but it looks like Mario Grillo is doing a terrific job to keep all of these drivers behind him. He has 3 drivers behind him who want to take that position, including Stephen Bird, who I didn't think at the beginning of this race would go for it. Down the inside, he has a look. Mario Grillo sees him, but he does not budge. And that door was closed before Stephen Bird knew it. And he has to try it on another occasion. But Tom Vos, look at this for a fight then. The fight for the lead is real this time round. 2:10 is the gap. Look who's trying to look up the inside. Darwin Romero trying to have a look. Christian Novak now into the lead. And it is a little bit further back. Jose Padin around the outside of Darwin Romero. He's dropping back like a stone in the ocean. Down the inside goes Jose Padin. Can he make the move? Stick is going to force him out wide. There's a wall on the outside. Look out, buddies. And they do keep it side by side. Are they going to make it 3 wide into turn 12? No, they don't, but it's Darwin Romero almost losing another position to John Sylvester. He is now on the inside. He will push him out wide, and he is dropping like a stone in the ocean at the moment, Jake.
Yeah, that is definitely not where Darwin wants to be. He wants to be up front fighting Tom Vos. But we got Christian Novak now in the lead with Tom Vos very, very close behind him. But yeah, I mean, Darwin definitely does not need to be in P4. He definitely should be fighting at the top. So whatever happened there, we don't know. But Stephen Bird now getting ahead of Mario Grillo further down the pack. But Tom Vos now has the slipstream coming onto the long straight towards the inner loop. Can he get the move done? He looks round the outside of Christian Novak. He is ahead now of Christian Novak going into the inner loop. But Christian Novak, remember guys, will have that inside line. But now he's backed off on this occasion.
The move was done before they got to the corner. And Ivan Bremer says in chat, John hanging back, going for the win in the last lap. I think he's talking about John Sylvester.
Christian Novak
but
there
look,
gets ahead
indeed,
of Tom Vos.
Christian Novak once again getting that back, but move is not done. Christian Novak doesn't get this one for free. Tom Vos fighting back up the inside of the chute, and he does take that position. Look at who is trying to lift with him. Jose Padin is going to make it 2 wide into the toe. Can he make this one stick? Oh, Christian Novak going really wide there. Up the inside is Darwin Romero again. This is a fight for the lead. They're fighting with 4 people, and it might be John Sylvester running away with it if something happens at the front of the field. But Tom Vos, because of all that fighting behind him, has now a little bit of a gap. 2:10, 2.5 tenths is the gap going into the heel. It's only this corner, and then 3 more corners to go, and he does go on to the last lap then, I think. It's going to be really close, but Tom Vos has 1 last lap to keep his winning dreams alive. Oh, a little bit of a slide that will not help his time, but Christian Novak hanging back a little bit. He will try it, I think, onto the main straight and then back to the back straight when we go to the inner loop. That's where the moves generally have happened this evening for the lead, because you do have that straight there. with the long strip seam, but Tom Voss not with a good run out of there. Tom Voss really dropping back. Did he under fuel maybe? We don't know. Jose Pade now in second place. Christian Novak passed as well. Tom Voss trying to pass Jose Pade once again. Does go past Darwin Romero once again. And it's Jose Pade still in second. Side by side a little bit further back. Tom Voss and Darwin Romero still side by side going into the S's. Once again we're side by side through here. They're side by side for the lead as well. Just a little bit further up the road. Jose Manuel Pade tried to go for the move on Christian Novak. This is for the lead. Remember, this is the last lap of the race. Going into the inner loop, it's going to be Christian Novak with the inside line. But is Jose Pade paused before they get to the apex? The answer is no, they don't. It's Christian Novak who's going to hang around the outside. He will have the inside once again now. And that is, I think, Tom Voss going really wide there. Don Romero goes past once again. But phew, man, this is unbelievable fighting on the last lap here.
Yeah, definitely. We have about 4 cars in the fight for one position here, as we are on the final lap, as Darwin Romero is going round the outside there of Tom Voss, and they are battling it out and nearly contact there with Joe Pardon. But yeah, I mean, it's just hectic on the last lap as Tom Voss nearly...
Oh, there's a touch!
There's contact. Who is that? That was Tom Voss and Joe Pardon, was it?
Yeah, that was Joe Voss and I think Jose Pardon. Jose Pade, Don Romero now a little further up the road, side by side. He's now once again going to look for a move to take P2. Jose Pade on the inside. They're going to make it 3 wide, a little bit further back. This is side by side for 2 rows. Look at how far they push each other. Onto the grass goes Don Romero. Christian Novak, though, because of all this fighting, running away with it. Don Romero going wide. That he forces the move. He's now up into P2. And in this Tom Voss in P4, Jose Pade just ahead of him. He's going to try and make that move stick around the outside of John Sylvester. He could take P4 of him here. They're 3 wide, a little bit further back. Up the inside of that is Aaron Hobson as well, but it's going to be Christian Novak who will take the victory in race 1. Behind that is Darwin Romero and Jose Manuel Pade. Tom Voss is just ahead of John Sylvester, and just behind that, gaining 3 positions, it's Vincent Osams and Aaron Hobson just ahead of that. Daniel Sedgley, though, starting in second, losing 6 positions down into P8. And Jake, I need a moment.
That was a very hectic final few laps there. Christian Novak with a surprise win. I think he held it for a few laps, but we didn't know who was going to come out in front there. There was 4 cars in the fight for the lead. That's just what MX5s are these now. That you got 4 cars in the fight for P1. But yeah, that was crazy. Darwin Romero P2, which is I guess expected because he was quite high up, but I would have expected him to maybe win. But there was a lot of drama going on. Jose Pade comes in P3, Tom Voss P4. John Sylvester just behind him, as Tom Voss managed to stay ahead of him on the just before the checkered. Vincent Osams comes in 6th, 7th. Aaron Hobson 8th. Daniel Sedgley with that unfortunate fall of positions. He dropped like 12 positions. Still don't know. Hopefully we can get him in for an interview later. Find out what happened there. Stephen Bird just comes in just behind him. Mario Grillo in 10th, completing our top 10. Miles Owen 11th, Martin Hobson 12th, 13th Alexandra Longue, 14th Michael Osborne, 15th Chris Simmons, 16th Martin Heister, and 17th Ewan Brumer with that unfortunate accident towards the start.
Brilliantly done there, James. That was the result from race 1. But here we go. You can go over it again. Just because I like how you do it.
Alright, so again, Christian Novak in winning tonight's Heat 1 race. Darwin Romero in P2. 3rd is Jose Pade. 4th, Tom Voss. 5th, John Sylvester. 6th, Vincent Osam. 7th, Aaron Hobson. 8th, Daniel Sedgley, with the unfortunate dropping back of positions in the middle of the race. 9th, Stephen Bird. 10th, Mario Grillo. 11th, Miles Owen. 12th, Martin Hobson. 13th, Alexandra Longue. 14th, Michael Osborne. 15th MX5, 16th Chris Simmons, and 17th Ewan Brumer.
Well, then that is your result for race 1 with Jake. Oh my god, man. I need a second after that. It was fighting all over the field. And man, it was absolutely amazing.
It was very, very, very entertaining towards the end of that race. Well, throughout the whole race, to be honest. By the way it's looking, that might be it for that might be what it's like for the next heat race.
Well, I do expect the feature race to be a little bit more timid than this, because of course there's strategy involved. It is longer. It's not a 15-minute sprint race. It's 30 minutes. It's twice as long. So I do expect it to be a little bit more timid, but man, if that tells us anything to go off this season, it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much action in Heat 1. There does tend to be a lot of action in Heat 1. But yeah, I mean, that was just crazy.
Yeah. For the people who want to know the schedule for the season, next week we'll have Laguna Seca, so we will stay in the US. Good for global emission. We don't go back to somewhere else, to Suzuka. Maybe we could have gone to Suzuka first and then to Laguna Seca, but we think about the world. We think about the people. So we've gone to Laguna Seca first, and then to Suzuka, then to Donington Park, and then to Mo Sport in Canada as well. So we could have actually gone to Mo Sport maybe before Suzuka and Donington to actually stay in the VS.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very exciting schedule. Quite looking forward to the rest of the season. But now, Dan, we've got about 3 minutes until the start of our heat race. And talk us through what strategies you reckon teams are going to be, not teams, drivers are going to be pulling. Are they going to go for late pit stops, early pit stops? What do you reckon?
Well, last season we saw actually a bit of almost everything. And, well, I expect some people to go early. I expect some people to look at that, to try and cover that, but we know that the undercut in iRacing is so much overrated. It just doesn't work in iRacing because your tires are cold. So I do think that people that go early need to go really, they need to take it to the extreme. So go really early. The moment that pit stop window opens, just fly into the pit lane and fuel up, because of course you will need to fuel up, take the tires and go out again, warm up the tires for one lap, and then just put in qualifying lap after qualifying lap after qualifying lap to try and make that strategy work. The people that will pit halfway through the race, I think that they have the best chance. Although you might argue the tires are not warm by the point they get to when the drivers ahead of them pit. That could be an issue, but I think that drivers who pit around the halfway point of the race will have the best chance of winning this race. Of course, you do need a little bit of pace to work with that. It's not only strategy this race. But I do think that if you do that as someone who's up with a chance of winning the race, that's the best chance for you to win it.
Yeah, I mean, if they pit around the halfway point, then they've got enough fuel and tires to last them, and they can maybe push to the end.
Exactly. Where, as if you pit at the end, you do not take less fuel, because everyone knows how much fuel to put in, even if you pit very early. So we might see people actually fuel save. I don't think it's really something that people do. As we've come to the end of the warm-up and we have the grid for you. It will be Mario Grillo once again starting in pole position ahead of a man who was not here in qualifying last time out, Stephen Bird. Daniel Sedgley in third. He will try and do better than he did last race. Try and recover. Aaron Hobson in P4, Vincent Ossems P5, P6 is John Sylvester, P7 Tom Vos looking to try and do what he did last race. P8 Jose Padin, Don Romero in P9, P10 Christian Novak, Miles Owens in P11. In P12, it's Martin Hobson. P13, Alexander Longe. P14, Michael Osborne. P15, Marnix Heister. Chris Simmons in P16. And Ewan Bremer in P17. Well then, looking forward to race 2 here. The feature race. It's going to be an exciting one, Jake.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if the start of the race is like anything in the heat, then it's going to be interesting.
Here we go then. The lights are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're on your screen. It's lights out, and we're green, green, green for race 2 of this evening. Mario Grillo with a very good start. Stephen Bird with a good start as well. Immediately challenged by Daniel Sedgley with a very good start. He's going to try and go up the inside. Doesn't make that work. The outside line is really favorable, but it's Stephen Bird who immediately spins out. But he does keep the car pointing in the right way. And it is, I think, Miles Owens who does not manage to do so. He hits the wall. Christian Novak starting from the pit lane. I don't know what that actually is. Our winner from last race starting in the pit lane. And it looks like Michael Osborne was caught up in an accident there as well. But meanwhile for P1, Daniel Sedgley looking to come back from the last race around the outside, going into the inner loop. Is he going to be able to make that one stick? The answer is yes, he is. And he's already through Mario Grillo, and he will now try and extend that gap as far as possible for him. Vincent Ostap's going really wide in the background as well. That will lose him a position to Aaron Hobson. Maybe a position to Tom Voss as well. He's already up 2 positions on the starting position, and it is Jose Manuel Padin behind that, up 3 positions as well, side by side now with John Sylvester.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Sedgley, it's good to see him back up into P1.
Hang on a second, Jake. It's 4 wide going into the toe. Oh, how did I make that work then? Unbelievable racing. They went 4 wide into the toe, but they made it all through cleanly.
Well, that's good to know. But yeah, it's good to see Daniel Sedgley at the top, back where he was. But yeah, we got this amazing fight going on here. We had 3 wide. Did that work? Was there a bit of contact there? It looked like there was.
Look at this, 3 banks or 2 banks of 3 wide. It's unbelievable it's unbelievable how close it is. Aaron Hobson up into P2. There's a spinner. That's the number 14. That is Mario Grillo, a pole sitter. Spins out in the first lap. And that is his chances of a victory, I think, gone with a short race of 30 minutes. And he spins actually again, trying to spin the car around. That is his chances of a win, I think, done. And look at the gap that Daniel Sedgley already has.
2.9 seconds, nearly 3 seconds on Aaron Hobson as Darwin Romero looking for an overtake there on Tom Voss. And there's a spin in the background, Dan. I don't know who that was.
That might have been Martin Hobson. Yeah, there he is. A lot of spinners here in race 2. So maybe drivers getting a little bit too confident with the car, trying to push it a little bit too much and just pushing over that limit, as we see Darwin Romero up the inside of Tom Voss. He will try and hang it around the outside once again, but Tom Voss has the slipstream of Aaron Hobson ahead of him. And Aaron Hobson trying to play this very smart, giving them both slipstream. It's going to be Tom Voss keeping it up the inside of the inner loop. He's going to be able to make that one stick, and it's Tom Voss ahead once again. Oh, and that is a little bit of corner cutting there from Aaron Hobson, but it's allowed.
Yeah, if you use most of the curb, then that's not really corner cutting on this track. As we get a crowd shot there. But yeah, these two are going at it now. Tom Voss and Darwin Romero. Darwin Romero, remember, the guy that was on top in 2 sessions today, is now fighting for P3 with Tom Voss. And Daniel Sedgley up in first, as we see here. Stephen Bird getting ahead of John Sylvester round the outside. That's ever so close. But he sticks it, but he doesn't. John Sylvester just gets back ahead of him. Stephen Bird now. These two going at it like there's no race left. But yeah, Stephen Bird now up into P10, and he's got ahead of John Sylvester before the next corner. Potentially looking at Chris Simmons along the way.
Well, there's a fight further on as well. Tom Voss looking up the inside of Aaron Hobson. Is going to be able to make this one stick into turn 12. Not really able to. Jose Padin looking behind this battle as well. It's Darwin Romero looking to try and capitalize on any mistakes that Tom Voss makes or any attacks that Tom Voss makes that do not work out. Aaron Hobson actually having to break there is Darren Romero. Is he going to pull out and try that move up the inside? It is Daniel Sedgley with a purple lap, but Jose Manuel Paden, as we're used to, immediately betters that.
Yeah, I mean, what we saw just then, I love when they try to break the slipstream. It's just so fun to watch. As a, who's that? Darwin? Yeah, Darwin looking to have a go there at Tom Voss. Just in the background, you can see now 3 cars in the fight as Daniel Sedgley goes dub the inside. They're about to make it 3 wide. They are 3 wide. Going down the straight. This is all for first position. This is why we love watching MX5s, as Daniel Sedgley still keeps it just ahead. As they go now into the inner loop. Darwin and Tom are now side by side, using all the curb on the inside line. But yeah, that gap's formed now, and that was very close.
The gap has formed. Darren Romero is past Tom Voss. Now down to Darren Romero to try and overtake Daniel Sedgley, but that gap is already up. Look at where Daniel Sedgley is. Already up to 3.1 seconds. Darren Romero, though, has to close that gap up, but I think with the speed he has this evening, he could be able to just as well do that in a second. Aaron Hobson, though, has dropped back down to P4. Darren Romero, though, gaining 7 positions, as is Marnix Heister. Like to point on that as well, together with Chris Simmons. They have both gained 8 positions, but it is Chris Simmons now down on position. Stephen Bird overtakes him. Doesn't really put up much of a fight. Maybe wants to try and catch up together with Stephen Bird to the back of Marnix Heister.
Yeah, it definitely looks like they let him past or something. That was a very slow overtake. But yeah, I mean, these guys are all going strong so far. And the gap is coming down now, Dan. 3 seconds is the gap to Daniel Sedgley from Darwin. So I reckon he could probably catch that up with strategy. But here we are looking at now Jose Paden on Aaron Hobson. Does he look for a move going down the straight? I think they're all just kind of going single file, trying to keep as much slipstream as possible. As we are on board with Jose, as he just sees the rear end of that MX5, looking for down the inside, and now becomes round the outside, going into turn 2. Can he get the move done? He's just sticking behind for now, I reckon, and he's going to try on the straight.
Yeah, he's not full throttle. He is leaving that throttle not wide open. He's not pedal to the metal. But he's going to try and do it round the outside. He has the slipstream of Tom Voss ahead of him to help him as well. They're going to be side by side once again into the inner loop. A lot of side by side action here. Who's going to be able to make that one stick? It's Aaron Hobson. Still ahead of Jose Paden. But also putting pressure on Tom Voss.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Tom Voss is now in the mix. He's got 1 car in front of him, 1 car behind him, and they're all trying to he's trying to get the car in front, and the car behind is trying to get his position. So you got kind of this train that's going on, and you can see there actually from this camera angle how much they're just having to counter steer the MX5s with the new regulations. But yeah, I mean, it's just been a crazy race so far with a few spins, but we still got about 23 minutes to go. So it's going to be interesting to see if Darwin can catch him, or Tom Voss can maybe get back up into P2 or 1.
Yeah. And just amazing to see there from that camera angle how much you have to slide really in high-speed corners. Look how much they slide. The slide angle or the slip angle from these cars has increased, or the ideal slip angle has increased on these cars now with the trickier and looser rear end. So yeah, amazing point of view to see there how much that has changed. As we're side by side, a little bit further back. Jose Manuel Paden trying to overtake Aaron Hobson. Is he finally going to be able to do it? It looks like he is.
Yeah, that move is done. And Miles Owen gets ahead of Alexandre. But here we can see Aaron Hobson and Vincent Ossams going bumper to bumper, NASCAR style, doing some bump drafting to get down into turn 1. I don't think that's Marnix Heister and Vincent Ossams. Marnix Heister just isn't close enough yet to Vincent Ossams to make a move. at this
I think
time.
this is Ossam's to Aaron Hobson. Ossam's is not quite close enough to Aaron Hobson.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Osams and Vincent Hobson all going at it. Is he going to look around the outside? No, I think he's just having a little peek there to see what he could do.
And the wipers on Vincent Ossam's car also work as well, maybe to try and signal to Aaron that he wants to go past, because of course, as you can see, they're in the same team technically. This is all for drivers. There's no team championship. This is every driver on his own. Of course, there are teams in this, or there are guys who are in the same chat and they will work together. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. The gap though to Daniel Sedgley not coming down as quick as I would have expected.
Still about over 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, so they're going to have to work hard, but I think once they're into that slipstream, that gap is going to come down much, much quicker than we see now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Once you get in that slipstream, you just gain quite a bit. It's basically like the Mazda's DRS. You get so much more speed, from being in the slipstream, as Marnix Heister and Stephen Bird are going at it, having a little battle there.
We have a first pitter.
And
I think that might be for damage if I look at the left-hand side of that car,
he's got
Jake.
quite a bit of damage on the left side. Student driver. There's Tom Voss now in 3rd place. He'll be looking to get ahead of Darwin Romero, who was looking promising for last time out, but sadly that didn't work out. As we see now, Stephen Bird coming into the pits as well. So this will be a pit stop, I believe, Dan. So
this will be a pit stop. He has nothing to lose, and that's why he can pit this early. He's one of the earliest pitters. He's now going to try and fill his car up to the exact amount of fuel that he needs, change the tires, and then go on an absolute rampage to try and close that gap up and try and come out ahead of the whole group. Tom Voss, though, this is now the closest battle on track. But what a battle this is. 5 cars involved in it all. And it is Vincent Ossam's the last of all those cars. Don Romero, Tom Voss, Jose Patton, Aaron Hobson and Vincent Ossam's all within a fight of, or all within arm's reach of P2.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the gap in these Mazdas is just so close that most drivers will be in the battle for 2nd place, like you said. Even in the heat, we had like 4 cars in the battle for P1. So it's going to be interesting once all the drivers get used to the cars. And then in the feature race they get used to it a bit more, and they find the limit of the car, because it's all about finding the limit of your car. So yeah, once they definitely find the limit, then I reckon we're going to be in for some good racing the whole season.
They just have to find their groove, don't they? Jose Pade now losing or gaining a little bit of time on Tom Voss. Tom Voss doesn't really seem to have the pace anymore to attack Don Romero. But the gap at the front of the field, Jake, take a look at that, has also come down a little bit. It is now 4/10 closer than it was last time round. And normally we didn't see too big of position changes. And I do think that I do see a little bit of damage on the inside front left of Tom Voss's car. So that might be why he is slower. So he might be one of the early pitters as well to try and get that fixed.
Yeah, he'll probably want to get that fixed as soon as possible, so that he can gain more time, because we still do have about, what, 15 or so, 20 minutes left of this race, so we've still got quite a while to go. So if he pits now, as Marnix Heister and John Sylvester come to the pits for their pit stop. So yeah, if Tom Voss pits, he can probably decently early, then he could probably get rid of some of that damage for the rest of the race.
Yeah, and I think it's Marnix Heister and John Sylvester reacting to this man. Stephen Bird, who tries the undercut on him. You can see this is the gap that he has to P1. It's 47 seconds at the moment. He is heavier than P1 at the moment, so that is why he's losing a little bit of time. But it is John Sylvester, Miles Owens and Marnix Heister reacting to this man. Let's see where it's going to come out in respect to them, and I think he's going to do it.
Yeah, he's going to come out.
Let's
just
see what
behind
Marnix Heister is. There he is. There's Marnix Heister. He will have the inside line through turn 1, but he won't be up to speed. Let's see what it's going to be on the outside, and it's Stephen Bird just ahead. So that undercut working like a treat for him.
It's a bit of irony compared to earlier when you said the undercut doesn't work that much. But yeah, as you can see now, Stephen Bird has got ahead of Marnix Heister and John Sylvester. So maybe they reacted a bit too late. What do you reckon, Dan?
Well, they reacted the lap after, so as early as they could. But yeah, it seems like with these looser rear ends, they're just able to make it work way better. The undercut, that is.
Yeah, definitely compared to last season, where the undercut didn't really work. So
the undercut normally lost you time.
Yeah, it did. I remember. So it's going to be interesting to see when all the rest of the top 3 pit as well, because they're going to see how much time they lose in the pit stop.
Yeah, Jake, look at the left-hand side of Tom Voss's car. So the right-hand side, if you look to the car, or if you look at the car from the front, so now the left-hand side, it's bent up. He does have a little bit of damage on the left-hand side of that car. Oh, Daniel Sedgley into the pit lane together with Aaron Hobson. So everyone reacting now to, I think this is Stephen Bird, because he's really, really quick with that undercut. He's gaining time on everyone. And also on the leaders, he's just posted a purple lap time last time round. So this could be a big surprise here. Stephen Bird without practice could be in with a shot at the win here if the people or the drivers at the front don't watch out.
Yeah, I mean, definitely they're going to be, that should be in their minds, and encourage them when they're going to pit with strategy wise. And look at the gap now between Darwin and Tom Voss. It's only 5/10, so half a second separates the leaders. So it's come down quite a bit, but Daniel Sedgley, I believe, did pit, which was a big gap before. But it's going to be interesting now to see how these guys react to Daniel Sedgley pitting, whether they're going to pit this lap or maybe leave it a lap or two.
Yeah, what Daniel Sedgley will have now is cold tires this first lap, which will compromise his run. But also, he will be heavier than these guys. He will be heavier. That's the thing that you always have to keep in mind. You will be heavier. And every kilogram in these cars is a lot of time. Because the more fuel you have on board, the more difficulties this car is going to have under acceleration. So the less fuel you have on board, the quicker you're going to go automatically. So let's hope for Daniel Sedgley that that undercut is going to work. But look at Stephen Bird. He's only 9 seconds behind Daniel Sedgley. And that was 15 seconds before. So he's gained heaps and heaps and heaps of time.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen Bird's still in 9th with that undercut. He has gained about 30 seconds. I believe when he exited the pits, he was about 47 seconds behind the leader. But he has now gained quite a lot of time. So hopefully, Stephen Bird, we can see the undercut work a bit more and maybe get up to the top 5, as that was a lot of grass there taken from Tom Voss. That won't help him, but it'll help the guy behind him, Jose, as he looks now into the slipstream, but I don't think he can quite make the move yet.
He can't quite make the move yet, but he is lining it up for the long straight ahead. Vincent Ossems, though, really close to Jose Padden as well, as it's getting really, really dark now on in Watkins Glen, of course, New York. This is located in. It's getting really, really dark now. If we take a look, as Vincent Ossems is getting really, really close. Here we go. The weather and the time. It's almost 9 p.m. And is Tom Voss gonna look to have to defend from Jose? No, he does not. They keep it single file. I think all wanting to gain time on Daniel Sedgley with that overcut.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Tom Voss now only 6/10, and the top 3 still haven't pitted. So it's going to be interesting to find out whether they pit maybe around the 20-minute mark. Just give them that bit not to take on a lot of that fuel, but tyres will be the main thing that they'll be taking on. But yeah, I mean, they haven't pitted yet, so they must be getting close to fuel now.
Well, we've seen in the past that these cars can run for up to 23 minutes, usually, depending on the track length. So that might be 21 this evening. But as you said, they're getting close now, so I expect them in the next lap or the lap after, really, for them to really make the overcut work. Otherwise, it will be, I think, Daniel Sedgley gaining time once again.
Yeah.
But Stephen Bird, as we take a look at that now, Stephen Bird right behind Marnix Heister. Marnix Heister has actually overtaken him. Because remember, he was behind when he came out of the pit lane. And this is a fight as well. This is the fight for eventually, I think, P6, P7, if they can keep it going.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting because once the oh, there we go, Darwin Romero speak as we say it. Dan Darwin has come into the pits for his pit stop. So how will the top 3 react? Will they pit next lap, or is Darwin going for the undercut?
I do think, well, at this point, Jake, he is already going for the undercut. He has committed to the undercut, but I do think that they will react next lap. The man that I think will go long, and this is just a prediction, the man that I think will go long and I see going longer is this man, Vincent Ossams. He's a dark horse in this race, really, to try and go for that win. But as we see Jose Padden working together with Tom Vos, bum drafting on the straight to try and gain that little bit of extra time together with him to try and overtake Daniel Sedgley and Don Romero. But as we take a look at this, who's come out ahead. So it looks like the undercut does not work. Like I said, the undercut lost Daniel Sedgley time. 3 seconds, even more. 4 to 5 seconds in total. Look at that then, Jake. It is Don Romero now out in front in the provisional lead.
Is it not Tom Vos? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, Tom Vos and down to Vincent Ossams still need to pit. But like you said, Dan, I reckon Vincent Ossams is going to go for that long. Go try push his car to the longest that he can. But without running out of fuel, obviously. But yeah, I mean, Darwin with the provisional lead. Daniel Sedgley went for that undercut, but I don't think it's quite paid off. He does have provisional P2, but I reckon he would have liked to have provisional P1 with the undercut.
I think he would as well, but yeah. Losing 3 seconds, or 5 actually, because he was 2 seconds in front, is a lot there. So I think that proves that the undercut 9 out of 10 times just does not work. We're going to see now who's going to react. Vincent Ossams, is he going to try and go long? I think they're all going to go. No, Vincent Ossams, look at that. I said it before, and I had a strange feeling. This man has nothing to lose, and he's going to go for that longer stint. He's going to go 1 lap longer than everyone else. We will keep an eye, though, on where these guys will come out. Marnix Heister seems to have lost a little bit of time. What has happened to him? Oh, no, Marnix Heister off. That left front wheel is not looking great. But let's see where these guys come out. They're immediately behind each other. Tom Vos ahead of Jose Padden. But let's see what this will bring to us.
I mean, it's going to be interesting. Tom Vos now just leaving the pits.
Oh, Tom Vos is stationary for very long.
Jose is just leaving the pits now.
There's Darwin.
Sedgley up into P4. There's Jose ahead of Daniel Sedgley.
Look at that, how close
think
it
he
is.
might be. So
Look
that
how
definitely
close
has
it
not
is
worked
there.
out for Daniel Sedgley. The undercut has not worked out for him. And Vincent Ossam still going long. But Darwin, once Vincent Ossam pits, will be in the lead. So I don't think that undercut has paid off. That undercut has lost him time, a lot of time, if anything, Dan.
Yeah, but I am interested to see what is going to happen to Vincent Ossams, because he's going really, really, really long. He's pushing this fuel stint to the maximum, and I think going long, as I said in the end, could be the most tricky strategy to do, but also one of the best. Also, the safest and quickest strategy to go for if you want to save is just pit halfway through the race, and that is exactly what Daniel Sedgley did. But well, let's just say that I probably got it horribly wrong with my predictions for the strategy, and that actually the overcut is way more powerful. But Don Romero now gaining time on Vincent Ossam, so I think it is probably time now for Vincent to try and find the pit.
This lap, probably.
Yeah, I think he will.
Yeah.
Oh, could you hear that? I think that we'll stay on board with him. Oh, look at the car. It is.
Engine does seem to be going.
He is so tight on fuel there, and that is why these guys probably didn't want to run that lap longer. Let's see when Vincent Ossams is going to be on the pit exit. You can see pit exit. Oh, there for a second. That is really quick for Vincent Ossams.
I think that's just SDK.
Vincent Ossams did disconnect. Oh no, Vincent.
Vincent Ossam's a shot in with winning, or at least having a top 5 finish, is just disconnected.
Oh no, that is so sore for Vincent Ossams. He is now on the pit exit. Let's see where he is. No, he's now just now on the pit exit. He will come back in P6.
I think it's SDK.
Yeah, I have a strange feeling it is that as well.
As that is wide from Chris Simmons there.
But that overcut really didn't seem to gain him a lot of time. Did he overfuel? I have a feeling he overfueled or took tires.
Yeah, it's probably he probably overfueled there, but Darwin in the provisional lead, but Jose can see him just in front of him. The number 119 car is chasing down 15. The gap is under half a second. He is really gaining now in the slipstream. It's going to be interesting to see whether he can get the move done or not.
He's going to choose the inside forward inner loop. Only 4 minutes to go. So that will be, I think, 2 laps after this one. And then this evening already has come to an end. This night of racing has then already come to an end. But it will be Mario Grillo moving up another position. 1.1 seconds is the gap now to Miles Owens. Do you think he's going to be able to catch up and overtake Miles Owens as well?
Potentially. He is 1 second behind, but he does have 3 laps to do it. As you see Stephen Bird and Chris Simmons now having a go at each other. Side by side coming onto the straight. I believe Stephen Bird is just ahead. As he slots in behind there does Chris Simmons as he looks down the inside. But I think he's just a bit too far back, sadly, for him to try and make that move stick. So yeah, I think Stephen Bird's won that battle so far.
We have to give credit to that man. Did not practice. Came in after qualifying. And look where he is now. P7 on the road. And still climbing up. But I think that's where it's going to stop. Because 6.2 seconds is not a gap that he's going to catch up without any luck. Within 2 laps.
Yeah, that gap is uncatchable. Well, he might catch it. You never know if he has a miracle happen.
It's exactly like you said. He needs a miracle to happen for that. But Jose Padden, the man who took P1 in practice, Don Romero, the man who took pole position, it's 1v1 because the gap behind is 2.4 to Daniel Sedgley. 3/10 is the gap now into the inner loop, out of the inner loop, onto the outer loop now. And let's see if Jose Padden can try and make that move on Don Romero, maybe on the last lap, that he could do it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 1 more lap to go, which he'll be thinking maybe just stick behind him for now, see where he brakes. Because you can do that when you're behind your opponent, find out where they're braking so you can try brake a few meters ahead of him. So he'll be figuring that out for this lap, and then next lap he's probably going to just go for it and do a last lap dive. Last lap, last corner. Overtake.
Well, I'm not expecting it to happen in the last corner because the last corner isn't really a corner to overtake. We're going to get to that in a second. We're now going to go onto the heel. And then we're going to go up the hill and then we're going to turn left. A very tricky corner. But Jose Padden looking to line Don Romero up for the back straight. I think that is where it's going to happen. If, and hear me out, if he's close enough. And I think at the moment, if he can keep this gap onto the main straight, he is close enough.
Yeah, he's definitely close enough. The gap is under half a second as we come now on to the final lap of tonight's racing. As he pulls over to the side so that he can break the slipstream. But Jose not responding to that. Usually the driver would follow him around, so maybe he's just trying to save some fuel.
He doesn't need to. We're on the white flag lap. It's one more time down the back straight. Jose Padin, 4 tenths behind at the moment. We're going to keep on board with Jose Padin. Don Romero in first. Look how quick he's gaining. He's going to have to do it onto the inner loop. It's really the only chance for him. The only really proper chance. He sells it the dummy. He goes up the inside. He's halfway on the grass. Can he do it onto the inner loop? Up the inside he goes. He does it. Can he keep it though on the exit? It does look like he can. But back down the inside is going to be Don Romero. Can't make the move stick. And it looks like Jose Padin, for now, is ahead. But the question is, can he keep ahead for the rest of the lap? Because he still isn't there. Don Romero didn't win race 1. He looked really strong. Don Romero looks really strong here in race 2. But Jose Padin is once again ahead. Now, there's a little straight coming up onto the heel we go. Now we're coming out of the toe. He's going to keep it pinned to the inside. You might want to take the outside here because there is an inside corner uphill. That is maybe a reason to keep it around the outside. They're side by side. It's Don Romero around the outside. Like I said, he pushes him wide. Doesn't allow him to get around the outside. Takes the inside now. And it might be Jose Padin who has this settled. It is 2 more corners to go now for Jose Padin to take his first victory in the PRL MX5 series. Don Romero now 2 corners to go to try and force a move. Can he line him up to maybe try it on the straight? Try and slipstream past. Can he do it? The last corner now. The exit is important here. Very important for Jose Padin. Don Romero keeps the slipstream, but it's going to be Jose Padin who wins race 2. And Don Romero comes through in P2. And it is going to be Daniel Sedgley who will slot into P3 after looking really strong at the beginning of this race. Tom Vos through in P4, Aaron Hobson in P5, and Vincent Ossems in P6. Wow, what a race once again. And there wasn't one moment, Jake, where I thought it's getting boring now.
No, definitely. There was a lot of action throughout the whole race. Considering it was a half-an-hour race, there was still a lot of action that was going on. And there's a lot of damage on that car, actually, just there. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of action, and it was really entertaining to watch.
Really entertaining to watch, and once again, going to be last across the line is going to be Alexander Longue. That is the finish for you here out on the track of Watkins Glen. Here we have the result of the feature race for you. Jose Padin will win with 1.5 tenths over Don Romero. Daniel Sedgley will come through in P3. Tom Vos in P4. Once again, a really, really competitive race. Aaron Hobson comes through in P5. P6 for Vincent Ossems. That overcut didn't really work out for him. But it was really, really daring for him to go for that. I had a feeling that he was going to be the one to try that because he had nothing to lose, really. He came from really far back, and finishing, though, in P6, Vincent Ossems actually lost a position. Did not expect that, but he lost a position to his starting position. Stephen Bird, though, we have to give credit to that man, Jake. He started the race, or race 1, without any practice. That race he finished quite well. I think P9 for him. And P2, and race 2, once again, a respectable result for him. P7. Chris Simmons in P8 and John Sylvester in P9. Mario Grillo, though, in P10. Good result for him out there as well. Miles Owens in P11. Michael Osborne in P12. Martin Hobson in P13. Expected more from him, also in race 1. Not really living up to expectations, I think, Martin Hobson. Alexander Longue, well, on his own, really, this evening. Gonna have a lot. He's gonna have a lot to do to catch up to the back of the pack. Not impossible, but definitely has a lot to do. Marnix Heister as well. He had 2 unlucky races, and Ivan Bremer as well. But what happened to Christian Novak? Did not start the race, which is really, really weird to me. But he finishes in P17. Don't really know what happened to him, as it looks like we have a man who was strong at the beginning of last season. We thought, well, it's gonna be more difficult for him when we looked at the qualifying result, but of course he was improving at the end of that. But he did not disappoint in race one. Neither did he in race two. Tom Vos, welcome.
Hello, hello. Yeah, my race went pretty well. In race one, I made a little strategic mistake in the at the end because I thought, okay, maybe if I let by one or two cars, I can get them on the straight and then be P1. But well, that didn't go well. And in race two, I had a lot of damage from the start already. So yeah, my top speed wasn't there. So trying to stay in the slipstream, but that was pretty difficult.
Yeah. Well, of course, it didn't look like you were letting people pass on purpose, really. You said it was a not so good strategic move. It wasn't a bad one. It was thought through, but maybe thought a little bit too much about it.
Yeah, I think I lifted a little bit too much at the end, but yeah, it can happen. Sometimes you need to take a little risk, but yeah, it didn't pay out at the end.
Well, do you think, of course, with two good results, of course, congratulations on that, but do you think that if you would have kept P1 um, in the end and tried to go on to the back straight in P1, do you think that you would have been P1 in the end, or do you think that in the end you would have still lost P1 even though you would have been in P1?
I would have lost P1 definitely. I would have been P2 or P3, so that's why I did that move and it didn't pay out. So I knew I was already calculating in my head. Okay, I need to try something because otherwise I won't be P1. So.
Yeah. Well, Tom, in race two, it was a little bit of a different story, strategy coming into play as well. What was really the point where you thought, okay, now I'm gonna have to go?
To the pits, yeah, my fuel was empty, so I needed to pit. I wanted to stay as long as I could in the slipstream because of the damage. So yeah, there was a free lap time for me, and you saw after the pit stop, I lost like 4 seconds. I don't know, I still don't know how, but yeah, at the end, if I didn't have the slipstream and with the damage, I just had no lap time. So yeah.
Well, it seems like it's gonna be more difficult than last season. Of course, last season you only did the first race.
Yeah.
Yeah, last season you almost had a grand slam in the first race with 5 minutes notice. This time you were noticed on very early basis, but yeah, it looks like you're gonna have it a little bit more difficult winning races this season.
It's still fun, and the cars are also changed quite a lot
Yeah,
this season. So still need to look into it, but I think it will be a fun season with all these guys in front. So
yeah. Well, Tom, congratulations on the results, and thank you for having the time for us. And yeah, see you out there next week. Thank you.
yeah.
Well, then we bring in another man who is our defending champion from last season. Had a difficult race in race one. Got, well, shoved out really wide into the inner loop at the beginning of race one. Race two went, well, let's say better. He pitted early, wasn't the right strategic move to make in the end, I think, but he's here for us to explain why he did it. Daniel, welcome.
Hello. Yeah, race one was just a disaster. I've not driven this since the update, and it's lethal on the first lap.
Well,
Got two
tell us.
slowdowns in 2 laps.
Yeah, well, tell us what has exactly changed that you really noticed. We of course know that the back end now is really deadly on these cars, and putting the power down is also, the cars can't spin when you put the power down now.
Yeah, Just the back end on the first lap. The tyres are too cold. Doesn't grip. Tried to go around the corner. It didn't happen.
Is there any difference after the first lap that you can notice, or is it pretty similar in the way you drive it?
It's still light. It's totally different from last season. I preferred last season. I prefer more understeer than oversteer.
And why
Oh.
is there a reason you prefer that? Does it suit your driving style better?
A lot better, yeah.
Okay. Well, race 2 didn't really go to plan, I think, in the end, because you were P1 before the pit stops. But yeah, it didn't really seem like the right strategic move to make in the end to pit early.
The big gap front, but I needed to save fuel to put less fuel in because you can only put 3.8 litres or 7.8 litres. And I knew that 7.8 would lose me 3 or 4 seconds, which is why I dropped so far back because I couldn't save enough fuel.
Okay,
And I think Darwin is just fast in the slipstream, managed to save a bit of fuel. I'm sure that's what happened.
yeah, of course they were catching you before the pit stops. What were you thinking when you saw that Darwin was past Aaron?
No hope. I was saving fuel up until then, but I couldn't save enough before the pit, so I just come into the pit so you couldn't use my slipstream. And I was hoping they were going to battle, so I could catch up and the pit exit.
Yeah. Well,
Didn't work.
next week at Laguna Seca, is it a track that you like? Or is it a track that you think is similar to this in terms of where you're going to be in the order?
Absolutely no idea.
Well,
Find out next week.
simply said there by Daniel Sedgley.
Um,
Well, Daniel, congratulations on the podium finish in race 2. Yeah, race 1, really unlucky there. But yeah, sure you're gonna bounce back next week and try and prolongate that the championship.
Well, I know about the cold tyres, so I won't hopefully make that mistake next time.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, thanks for making the time and good luck out there next week at Laguna Seca.
Thank you.
Well, Jake, that is it for the interviews, I think. Quick, give me 3 words with which you can describe this evening.
Exciting, chaotic, and close.
Really well done. And for some reason, that was exactly what I wanted to pick as well. So
I read your mind.
I don't know, but yeah. Now I'm gonna have to think of something else. So thank you for that, Jake. I'm gonna say exciting, promising, and what's my last word? Exciting, promising, and fierce. Good. Also 3 very good words to use. Well, Jake, it's been an amazing evening of racing once again. Not one moment that I had where I thought, well, now it's gonna be boring.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, close all over the field, especially race 1.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, race 1 was just chaos. It was fun chaos though. Like there was so many,
yeah.
there was so much action going on. The overtakes. There wasn't as many spins in Heat 1 as I thought there would be. I thought they all seemed to come out in Heat 2 on the first lap.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Well,
yeah, it was a good race and a good night.
I think that's a cause of the drivers actually getting comfortable, and we saw it all happen in lap 1. So that's when the car can take the least amount of leaning on the tires and the car. So I think that's just drivers getting too comfortable with the handling of the car, and because of that, pushing it too much in lap 1. And yeah, because of the cold tires, then you really go around like Daniel did in race 1. So Daniel found that in race 1 and he didn't do it in race 2, and I think that eventually gave him quite a lot of positions. But yeah, Jake, amazing evening, like I said. Round it off for us.
Well, we have a very interesting championship fight. Some winners today that we didn't think would be winning. But yeah, Haas Jose was top in practice, so maybe we might want to start trusting them with practice times, Dan. But yeah, I mean, overall, good night. We got Daniel Sedgley there. Maybe he can come back next week. Maybe tonight wasn't his night, but we'll see next week who can come out on top.
Yeah, definitely didn't look like Daniel. His overall night wasn't as good, but race 2 definitely showed that he is a champion of sorts, and yeah, a very mature drive from him there, and yeah, definitely looking forward to the next race. Well then, guys, of course, remember to subscribe to be here next week for Laguna Seca. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button. It helps push our streams out there and create a bigger podium for the drivers because they deserve it with the racing we've seen, especially in race 1, all over the field. Not only for the podium spots, not only for the top 5, but for P10, 11, 12, 8, 7, 6, just everywhere in the field. So make sure you do that. And from Platinum Racing League, from the MX5 series, from the commentary route, from me and Jake, thanks for watching, and good night.